If you're creating and publishing KDP low content books on Amazon, or looking to get into this business and build your own online income, then I've got a very interesting KDP niche for you, which is making some publishers quite a lot of money, as we can see here. We've got this Chibi horror colouring book with a bestsellers rank of 2,247, which if we put into a book sales calculator means that this book is selling between 1,219 to 2,430 books per month, which at a sale price of $6.99 means this book is making around $1.90 in profit, which means overall this publisher with this one book is making between $2,300 to $4,600 per month in pure profit. But it gets better. If we scroll down, we've got this dark beauty horror colouring book with a bestsellers rank of 2,768. Again, if we put that into a book sales calculator, we can see it's selling between 1,041 to 2,070 books per month. But it gets better because of the sale price, which is $8.99, which if we put into this pricing calculator means that the estimated royalties per book is around $3.24, which means this one book is making between $3,370 to $6,700 per month. That's royalties, that's pure profit, which I think you'll agree is pretty good. But this publisher is also selling quite a few other books as well, and so is bringing in a really good income per month. So we're going to investigate this niche further. Now, one of the problems with this niche is the competition. When we do a search, we've got 4,000 search results. So what I'm going to show you is how to find those less competitive keywords. I've got some very interesting sub niches for you, and I'm also going to show you some resources that I use to create the interiors and book covers for these types of books. So then you've got all the information there to proceed forward and hopefully create your own books and hopefully bring in an online income. So the niche we're looking at is, as you can probably guess, the horror colouring book niche. Now I like this niche because it appeals to adults and kids. It makes great gifts, but it is also an evergreen niche. And I'll show you what I mean by that. If we look at the sales graph for this particular book, this 9 of Horror colouring book, we can see that the bestsellers rank, and this is using a free plugin from Helium 10, we can see the bestsellers rank hovers around the 30,000 mark for quite a bit of time during the year. So it's bringing in decent sales, decent income. But when we approach Halloween, we can see that this bestsellers rank starts to fall, and we can see here it falls all the way down into Halloween, and it stays quite low all the way up to Christmas. And again, that's because these books make great gifts. Now, when we want to get our books found by customers, we have to find those search terms that are less competitive. So these are the search terms that customers are typing into the search bar on Amazon. And the way I approach this is by looking at the number of search results for each keyword or each search term that a customer is typing into the Amazon search bar. So if we take horror colouring book, for example, we can see that it has 4,000 search results, which is quite high. I look for search terms that have 1,000 or less search results, and that's in the all category. I have done a video on that, on why you should do it in the all category. But when you insert a search term, you can see that we get all these other suggestions from Amazon, which are very useful because Amazon is actually telling us what keywords or what search terms customers are typing into the search bar. So this is very useful data, and we can make a list of these and put them into a spreadsheet. I've also got a free plugin installed called AMZ Suggestion Expander, which gives me these other search terms again customers are placing into the search bar on Amazon. And what I then normally do is take each of these keywords or search terms, I put them into the Amazon search bar and look at the number of search results. And we would get, for example, something like this, which is a Chibi horror colouring book search term. And you can see we've got 465 results, which is below that 1,000 threshold. And then what I also do when I'm doing my keyword research, when I put the search term in, I also have a scroll down to see how deep the search goes for these types of books. So for example, Chibi horror colouring book, we can see that the first row is full of all these types of books. And what I like to do on the first page is just scroll down and see how far the search goes. Again, we're on the third row. We're starting to get these Kawaii colouring books, pastel goth colouring books. As we scroll further and further down, we can see we're moving away from the chibi horror colouring books, and we've got things like Spooky Town, Spooky Baby, Princess of Horror. So the searches don't go that deep on the first page, which means that there is a good chance, if you create one of these types of books, use the correct keywords in the title, subtitle, and 7 keyword boxes, there'd be a good chance of getting your book ranked on the first page and therefore seen by customers, and therefore a good chance of making sales. Now, I have done 2 videos, one on how I do my keyword research in depth and also how I use keywords, and I'll leave a link to those 2 videos down below in the description if you want to check out that further. Now, I have done the keyword research for this particular niche. Now, I did this about a year ago in a video, but I've redone the keyword research and I've found a lot more keywords this time. In fact, as we can see on this spreadsheet, I've found 113 different keywords. Now, for each keyword, I found the number of Amazon search results and also the number of Google searches where available. Now, if a keyword does have Google searches, it just means that keyword has a little bit of extra strength, because it means that people are searching for this keyword on Google, and it gives your book a better chance of being found in the Google searches as well as in the Amazon searches. And there are lots of keywords here, and you can see we've got these Amazon search results, and surprisingly, there are a lot of keywords with search results of less than 1,000. And also, doing this, I've found some very interesting sub-niches, which I'll tell you about in a moment. Now, it does take quite a lot of time to do this keyword research. You take each keyword, you put it into the Amazon search bar, you look at the number of search results. But what happens is, as we can see with horror colouring book, when you put in a particular keyword, you get all these other suggestions. So those also go into the spreadsheet as well. However, I've done all the work for you. And I've got all these keywords, 113 keywords in total, and I've uploaded them to my Gumroad shop. As you can see here, it's a horror colouring book keywords, and they are completely free of charge. You can get this whole list of keywords in Excel format, .csv format, and .pdf format. And as I say, it's free of charge. So the link to that, again, is in the description below. Just go across there, and you've got a good start to creating and getting your books ranked on Amazon. Now, what about these interesting sub-niches I've found? Well, this would hopefully give you a head start if you are thinking of getting into this niche. Now, I did mention earlier this one here, the chibi horror colouring book niche, only 465 search results, and again, the searches didn't go that deep. Another one I found was the creepy kawaii colouring book. Now, these are, I think, sort of Japanese type illustrations. Next was the Witchcraft colouring book. Again, another interesting one, only 628 search results. And again, the depth of this was even more shallow than the other niche sub-niches that I've just showed you. So again, that's a sub-niche with good potential. Here's another suggestion, zombie colouring book. 1,000 search results, which is on the threshold of what I choose. Now, on a side note, if a keyword does have more than 1,000 search results, it doesn't mean it's a complete write-off. For me, what it means is I would choose those more competitive keywords if I was willing to run an Amazon ads campaign on those particular books. But if you're not, and for most of my books, I don't run ads, I choose the less competitive keywords. And so we've got the zombie colouring book here. Again, looks very interesting. And as you can see, even on the first page, we're only about halfway down, the zombie colouring books all fall off. So again, a good chance of getting your books seen on the first page. And then the last one is the, interestingly, colour by numbers horror book for adults, which surprised me. Only 306 search results. They've got reasonable bestsellers ranks, so these books are making sales. And again, the depth falls off extremely quickly with these types of books. So there's one to consider if you want to create colour by numbers colouring books. Now, the biggest challenge with all KDP low content books is actually creating the books themselves. So you've got the interior you need to create and the book cover you need to create. Now, for the book cover, you're obviously going to need images. Now, there's many different sites where you can get images from. There's copyright-free sites like Pixabay and Unsplash. I prefer to get my images from sites where I know I've got the commercial license to use them on print-on-demand products. And you've got sites like designbundles.net, Envato Elements, but I often use Creative Fabrica. And here I've just done a general search for horror images, and you can see it presents us with all these different images that you can use to build up the cover of your book. And you can also use these to create the interiors as well. However, on Creative Fabrica, again, one aspect which I like a lot about this platform is that you can also find images that you can use in coloring pages as well. So you've got these horror coloring pages already made. Now, the biggest objection to this, which is absolutely fair enough, is that what if everyone else goes out and uses images to create their coloring books? Well, yes, that is a problem, and it can cause issues with things like duplicate content. So my suggestion is, if you are going to use any of these images, pages to create your coloring book, I would actually make changes to them. So use elements from one image and combine it with elements from another image. And that way you can create something a bit more original. I have done videos which are on this channel, which you can search for, where I show you how to go through the process of creating coloring book interiors using combinations of other images. Another good advantage of Creative Fabrica is that you've got also these fonts as well. Now, there's a link below to Creative Fabrica. You can get the first month for only $1. So actually you could have access to a lot of these resources for only $1, which I think is a pretty good bargain. Now, if you are wanting to create something more original and you're willing to pay a bit more, then probably one of the best places to go to are Upwork or Fiverr. And Fiverr is excellent. I put in here coloring book cover, and you've got all these options, and you'll find that a lot of these artists will also create coloring book interiors for you as well. So if we scroll down here, we've got a lot of options. We've even got creepy, cute Kawaii coloring books, which were part of that overall horror coloring book niche that we've just looked at. So a lot of good resources there. I like using Fiverr. I've used them quite a lot in the past, and I think it's a good use of your time. Now, you may not want to look at that until you've started selling books, making a bit of profit, and then reinvesting that profit into getting someone to create your books. But it's just a suggestion for you, which I found pretty useful in the past. Now, if you are new to this whole KDP business and I've piqued your interest, then what I suggest doing is watching this video where I run through all the steps to creating your first very own KDP lined notebook, which is ready to publish on Amazon and get you into this business. Thank you very much for your time. It is very much appreciated. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, goodbye.